There are people throughout the world that have interesting stories to tell. Stories of heroism, acts of kindness, near-death experiences, successes, and failures. You usually hear of these stories from people that live in another state or country. But what about the stories from within your own community? Everyone has a story to tell. And by everyone, we mean your neighbor, your coworker, the person behind you at church, people you interact with on a daily basis, or maybe even you. Welcome to the DTB Podcast, presented by Bless Your Heart Nonprofit Corporation. I'm Jere Jean Bonjaro, standing in for Brennan Mathern. I'll be your host as we speak with some of the most interesting people on Bayou Lafourche. The Cajun cuisine is a cornerstone of our culture. Our ancestors' humble means yielded a rich landscape of unique dishes. Gumbos, fricassees, bouillies, coubillons, tarts, étouffées, and seafood dishes. So many recipes of our signature dishes were passed down from generation to generation. We are so thrilled to have someone from a strong Cajun cooking family with us today. Today we are meeting with Anthony Goldsmith with the Kajun Twist. Anthony is a fifth-generation Cajun cook. Anthony, welcome.
Hey, Jere. Thanks for inviting me.
We're excited to have you today, and we're hoping that you'll reveal to us some of your recipes. So, Anthony, we start off every episode by asking the typical Down the Bayou question. Who's your mom and dad? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
All right, yeah, my mom is Tish Toops, and my dad is Rick Goldsmith. I grew up in Galliana, Louisiana. I was born in Lafayette, lived there for about a year, and then we moved down here in the family street, and I've been there ever since.
Gotcha. So give us a little bit of your educational background. Were you a bulldog or a lion?
I was a lion. I was a wildcat first.
Oh.
Yeah, Galliana Elementary till 6th grade and transferred over to Golden Meadow Middle and then South Lafourche after that.
Awesome. Did you go to college at all?
Yeah, after South Lafourche, I went to LSU. It took me a few years, but I got a degree in general studies. I got minors in communication, business, and sociology.
Did you ever envision being the owner-manager of the Kajun Twist?
I really didn't, and I didn't really cook much growing up. I was always around the food and everything. You know, I helped Mom stir the pot. I helped Mom stir the pot. But besides that, I never really thought about cooking. It was the last few years in college. I was, entertaining friends and everything. I was like, let me, give it a shot, give it a try, see what I got. And I guess it's just in my blood.
Yeah.
I accidentally cook everything pretty good. Whenever I venture out into other cuisines, like, let's say, Hispanic food or something, I messed up a guacamole the last time I did it. So I try to stay away from there and stick in my lane,
Right. So I want our listeners to really know, how rich Cajun cooking is in your blood. You come from a very long line of Cajun cooks. Can you tell us some of your family members who you think, who kind of have influenced you, your cooking, and how you run the Cajun Twist?
Yeah, so I'll try and start from the oldest one that I know.
Yeah.
And that's Anna Lombas, mi mère. That was Alzina's mother. And growing up, she housed many children from many families. That's how it was on the bayou. Everybody would take in what they could, and we all helped each other out. That's how a community thrives.
Right.
So she was always known for cooking and having everybody at her house. It didn't matter what time. It didn't matter when. It was always welcome, and she always had the pot of coffee dripping. So after that, it's Alzina, and from what my grandpa told me, she wasn't always that big of a cook. It wasn't until later on that she really got into it and took off. He said she was famous for her just quick stuff.
Yeah.
And he always told me that he wouldn't go to school on Fridays because it's Friday. They didn't have to go to school. But it was different back then. But Alzina moved into my grandpa's welding shop right across from her house after he was moving to a larger location. And he offered it to her as a kitchen. So he outfitted it for her and everything, and she took off cooking and learning the history of recipes all up and down the bayou. Like her cookbook, it has her recipes and our family's recipes, but it also has many Cajun recipes from other Cajun families up and down Bayou Lafourche. She would go and communicate with them, talk with them, and get how they cooked back before she was around.
Right.
And just trying to get it word of mouth so she could keep it alive.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, so after that, my grandpa, he's also a really great chef and has had many different restaurants throughout our existence. And
so who's your grandfather?
So my grandfather's Anthony Toops.
And so what restaurants like around here did your grandfather own?
So we purchased the Kajun Twist probably about 25, well, now it's probably about 30 years ago. 30 to 40 years ago, we had purchased the Kajun Twist. Before that, they had Alzina's on the lake in New Orleans. He had Toopsy's in Fouchon. That was where Cajun Sportsman was. Also, the Cajun Truck Stop. He had built that also. We had Barataria Seafood Grill in Grand Isle. They had Anatol's in New Orleans. I'm sure there's a few more. There's one or two more I just can't think of off the top of my head right now, but he's had a few different locations, yeah.
So is your grandfather also a good cook, or he's just a restaurateur?
No, he's a good cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing, and I try and steal his recipes whenever I can. And he has our papis, David Toops' étouffée de macaroni, where you cook the noodles in the sauce,
right,
the real way, in a big black iron pot. So I tried to take notes and take pictures as much as I could the last time he did it, so I could try and get it the next time I cook it.
So tell me, like, growing up, like, having Alzina Toops as your great-grandmother, like, you remember, like, her cooking and you being around? I feel like every Cajun kid kind of has this memory of, like, I could even smell it, like burnt flour, like
yeah.
with your mama's windows open, and it's like burnt flour, and The Young and the Restless is playing on the TV.
Yeah. Well, Mom, she wasn't big for technology.
Yeah.
She had her TV and she watched it here and there, but she had a rotary phone up until she needed the fall assist, which you needed a regular landline for.
Right.
So never had a cell phone, never touched the internet.
Wow.
As long as it's been out and she was alive, never touched the internet.
Wow.
Yeah. So growing up, we grew up down the family street. So it's all Guidry's and Toops in that street. And I lived, say, 4 or 5 houses down the street from her.
Right.
So when me and my friends would be playing on weekends and everything, Sunday would come around, that was it. It's time to go eat at Ma's. So we'd go up to Ma's, the family, everybody would go, and that smell of roux that you were talking about, that doesn't get out your skin or your clothes either. So if you're around it that day, you smell it until you shower.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's really fond memories. And my job when I was growing up was folding the napkins and putting the napkins in place settings out on all the tables and wherever people were sitting, because it's a large family. So
right.
We would sit everywhere. It's table, bar, it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, really fond memories of just going up the street with friends. And that was one thing my friends and I all kind of reminisced after she had passed, was she treated everybody like family.
Right.
It didn't matter who you were, where you came up from. She knew that they possibly didn't have that type of food, or that family still around.
Right.
So she wanted to spread that love.
I feel like that was always such a common theme with people who went out and who ate at her dinners.
Yeah.
Was that she kind of just like made you feel like she was your grandma.
Yeah. And that's how it was. It was very relaxed. Her kitchen, everything's open. It was all set out like Thanksgiving style almost. You get up, serve yourself, and
right.
She'd sit down and just have a conversation with everybody.
Right.
And whoever was interested would go and help stir the pot and all too for her, and feel like that nostalgia.
Absolutely.
Still get that nostalgia.
I think it's funny how our Cajun cuisine is so like well known and liked around the world. You tell someone you're from Louisiana, no matter who you talk to, they're like, we hear you have good food.
Yeah.
But when you really look at like the bones of what we cook, it's relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Like some Cajun mama said, I need to cook a gumbo for 8 kids and I have flour and oil and,
yeah.
So I think it's awesome that, our humble upbringing really is, we found a way to put an extra spice in it and, get it recognized. Alzina Toops, just the name that's so, known in Louisiana Cajun cooking. So tell me, like, you running the Twist now, you're a new generation with the Twist. Tell us, I know you said that the family kind of purchased it about 30 years ago, but like, tell me like the history, like where did it start? Who did y'all buy it from?
Yep. So old man Terrebonne had it. They called him Slim Galliana from what I'm told. I'm guessing because Galliana Twist.
Yeah.
And it was in an old lawnmower shop. Well, it was a lawnmower shop recently, and then a thrift store. It's still in their family. The Terrebonnes still own it.
Okay.
And after we purchased it, we moved it about a half mile down the road, down the bayou, to it was a closed gas station. So there was no pumps or anything, but it was a convenience store, gas station, and we ran it as a restaurant. We were leasing that building, and whenever the current location came up for sale, it was in our family, and no one else in the family was wanting to purchase it. So we had picked it up and moved everything over to that location that it's at now. And after Hurricane Ida, the whole kitchen collapsed. We plan on rebuilding. We're working on blueprints and all now. But we put a food truck there for temporary, so we could at least get the good Cajun food going down the bayou, you know?
Absolutely. I know that the Kajun Twist is definitely a staple of Galliano, and I'm not quite sure where other people eat after church, because that's the after church spot.
Yeah, that's how it was for sure.
So tell me, like, I know you said that y'all experienced some damage like everybody else for Hurricane Ida, but what is going on with the Twist now? I know you have a new location. How's business going?
Yep, so we got our second location in Lockport. We opened January 18th of 2021, which we were trying to open up the year before, but with COVID and the production of things being halted pretty much, it was hard to get any equipment or anything to start. So we opened up January, and we've been rolling ever since. It's been a good spot. It's been a good location. We're serving our good fried chicken and homemade burgers and everything, just home-cooked food, you know. Mm-hmm. Then our Galliana location, when we got the food trailer, it was originally a barbecue trailer. So I learned how to smoke some brisket and pulled pork, and it's been a pretty good hit down there, too. So we got a limited menu down the bayou, but we still got our chicken, burgers, roast beef, fried shrimp, and we got the barbecue.
That's awesome. So what are y'all's, like, I know you're talking about building back Galliano, but what is the Twist plan for the future? Like, do you have anything, like maybe new menu items or any new, like, locations or anything? Yeah,
so we, in Lockport, we started running some specials here and there, different things. A lot of it was from Toopsie's originally, some of the Toopsie steaks, the seafood crepes and stuff like that. But it's not something that everyone goes for, you know, so we're going to kind of roll it in, roll it out, do limited times here and there. Galliano, we're going to put a big smoker in the location when we rebuild. We plan on rebuilding the kitchen bigger so we could produce a little more volume and be able to bring that to other locations also. We're hoping to possibly open up a few more locations. My cousin's getting into it, Brett, and that's what we're hoping to expand a little.
That's great. That's great. I think it's so awesome now that our generation, you know, are the 30-something, 40-something-year-olds have kind of, you know, our grandparents and our parents worked so hard to create what, you know, the way that they provided for their families. Yeah. But to see you, I think it's just, like, so encouraging to see that, you know, you see value in the work that your family has put in.
That culture that they brought up, you know, and that history of cooking and cooking simple, you know. That's like, well, our gumbo actually is roux-less.
Really?
So Alzina does a roux-less gumbo.
So that's a bit controversial.
Yeah, it is. But it's crazy how all over Bayou Lafourche everyone cooks different, but it's always good. Absolutely. No matter where it is. You know, if you're on Bayou Lafourche, you're eating good Cajun food.
Right.
If you go to New Orleans, people think Cajun. It's not Cajun. It's more Creole.
Right.
A little Cajun Creole fusion, you know. But so our chicken gumbo, we do heavy onions. We do an onion gravy, a really thick like onion gravy, and that gives it a little bit more body. And then when you do your okra, that thickens up your gumbo. So her shrimp okra was a famous one. And for Andrew Zimmern, when he came for Bizarre Foods, it was chicken feet. So every time she cooked the gumbo, she cooked her stock and everything with chicken feet. Wow. But she'd pull it out whenever people would come because to the eye, it's not as pleasing.
No.
But historically, that's what they did. You know, they didn't waste any parts of anything they caught or killed, or got off the boat, the grocery store boat that they had coming down. You know, that's the only time they would get groceries.
Right.
So it's
being resourceful
and finding a way to do it right, to add that flavor and to taste your ingredients,
right.
like your onions, your bell peppers, celery, all your good stuff, your Trinity, everything. You want to taste that when you're eating some Cajun food. Her seasoning was just red pepper flakes and salt meat for salt and stuff. Because back then they didn't have all these crazy seasonings. They weren't easily available.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no Tonys.
No. Not Tonys. She was definitely no Tonys.
Tonys.
But I mean, sometimes you need it. Like I don't mind some Tonys.
I love that you're just keeping things simple. I feel like we always have a tendency to try to like overcomplicate everything, but like it's true. Sometimes just like falling back on like the ingredients. I think that's really awesome.
Try and keep true to how they cooked back then.
Right. Absolutely. Do you have anything in your family where like one side cooks it this way, or I know you said your dad's from New York, so I'm sure that they don't cook very much Cajun food.
Well, my dad, he had went to culinary school. He graduated culinary school, I believe, out of Minnesota. But his stuff that he cooked was always phenomenal also. Mm-hmm. It was just different. But he moved down here when he was 21, I want to say.
Right.
So he got the Cajun cooking down too. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't much for him to pick up. But his Asian cuisine is really good. I don't know if he focused on that in Minnesota, but it was. I like his fried rice and everything he would do, his asparagus and stuff. It always had like an Asian theme to it, and it was always phenomenal.
That's awesome. Sounds like we need like a DTB podcast taste test, maybe.
Oh yeah. We could line some up,
No, that's interesting that you say that though, because my husband's family is from New Roads, and so his grandfather spoke Cajun French, and the dialect was a little different. And so I guess just like Cajun French, their cooking is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
We were kind of talking before the podcast, but like, I would go eat over there and I'm like, oh, your mama made a chicken fricassee. And they like, what? They call it a gravy. Okay, well, you made a gravy. Same process. They just cook things a little bit differently. They rely more on onions and not so much a dark roux.
Yeah.
And they, I find, cook outside all the time. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. In the summertime, it's not for me. It's a little too hot. If the wind's going, I'm okay.
Yeah. They do like this cochon de lait over there where they
I've heard about that.
Yeah. So they cook a pig like in the ground.
Okay.
So they put the coals on top of the pig.
Yeah, and bury it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting. I love that my children are exposed to that just to see like there are different ways of Cajun cooking.
Yeah.
Not just, the way we cook here. Although I'm sure you feel the same, being from here, this is the right way.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and I'm sorry, but Northern and Intracoastal, it doesn't always come out the right way, I'm just joking, I
was about to say, we live above the Intracoastal.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm probably going to eventually make my way up there, too.
Yeah. No, I love that you ventured to Lockport.
To a lot of stuff,
Yeah, I agree. But I do love that you ventured to Lockport because I feel like, the Cajun Twist was always such a important staple of Galliano. And, just, I guess, being an attorney, I'm up and down the bayou so much. So many people in Lockport have complained that businesses have left that community.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate that you saw value in that community to open up a business and employ people from there. Because I think that's very important. Kind of like gave them a little bit of life again.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. So my grandpa moved around the area. Mm-hmm. And he's like, man, there's not many places to eat,
Right.
We got one spot near Lockport, and besides that, you got to go up the bayou.
Right.
So he's like, if you want, we'll open up another one up there, and we could see how it goes. I said, yeah, let you build it, I'll go. Let's do it. So we really like that we could bring some life back, and it's starting to boom. They got 2 other restaurants about to open up in Lockport.
Awesome.
They got a few things going on, and I'm excited to see the town grow. That's
great. I feel so encouraged every time I pass and I see that y'all are like swamped over there.
Yeah. Lunchtime it's rolling with the plate lunches and all.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find good plate lunches places nowadays,
It's true.
and cook the way like that. That was always the biggest compliment for me in the restaurant is when someone would come, especially someone older, and be like, look, that tasted just like my mama's like food. Like that was cooked to the T like it. And that's the type of stuff that I like to hear, because that's what I want. I want to preserve that history.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. It's funny you say that, because one of my most memorable memories from the Cajun Twist in Galliano is my grandma bringing me, and it was like it was a plate lunch, so it had to have been like a weekday, and it was petit pois with a roux with a fried pork chop.
That's one of my favorites to do, too.
It was the best. Like, that's the gold standard of petit pois with a roux. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites to do, is the petit pois.
Kudos.
It's just old school. And then you got to have the boiled egg in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and the potatoes. Yeah.
Potatoes, yeah.
1,000%. So listen, if you could do that perfect, I feel like it's going to be gold for sure. So we have to know, what is your favorite thing to cook at the restaurant?
So my favorite thing that I like to cook is a black-eyed pea jambalaya.
That sounds amazing.
It's something that Alzina came up with, and it's something she cooked every once in a while at the restaurant for people. But when I was in college, it was something that stretched and was filling. So if you're drinking all day, this'll keep you going. You know, it'll be the fuel that you need to survive the night. But that's one thing that I cooked a lot through college, and I still cook to this day. It's one of my favorite things. And you can find the recipe online. You just really got to, I believe it's Fox 8. And just type in Alzina Toops, black-eyed pea jambalaya. It's going to come up with her recipe for it, which you got to get Trappy's black-eyed peas with the jalapenos.
For sure.
And use that whenever you deglaze in your pot, whenever your onions are sticking and all, use that juice. Don't use water.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hungry just thinking about it. So what, you said that was your favorite thing to cook, but tell me, like, what is your favorite dish to eat?
There's a lot. I mean, we're down the bayou. Everything's good, but fricassee. That's the fricassee is chicken usually, but shrimp.
Yeah.
I mean, crab. It doesn't matter. Any fricassee. I like some heavy gravy. I like something that's gonna put me to sleep.
Oh yeah. And like a potato salad.
Oh yeah. You gotta have the potato salad with it. Yeah.
You have to have a boiled egg in it.
Yeah, and the drop egg.
So that was introduced to me in college. That was not something our parents did, cooking. My mom would always boil eggs on the side and cut them in half, and you would be able to cut the yolk and
all together.
I never had a drop egg until college, and like, surprisingly, it's really good.
I really like the drop eggs. It's something that I don't remember us doing often either.
Right.
But like my grandma Rebecca, who's also an amazing cook, she does, and her fricassee, she gets the roux so dark. I don't know how she pulls it right before burning, but it is amazing. It has a great flavor. But she's the one that showed me the drop egg and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can always tell, like, that we're going to have really good food for supper time when my kids come back from my mom's house and they smell nothing but the roux the whole time. One of the best, like, stories, when my little girl was born, my grandma had got some old lady from down the bayou to make her a, those like crib blankets. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the lady hand stitched it. Well, my mama had made a fricassee when the lady dropped the blanket off, and the blanket smelled nothing but the roux.
Oh yeah.
So I'll go to her house, and she has it like hanging over a chair on the front porch, and it was like the most down the bayou thing someone could have said. She said, "Me babe, I got that made for your baby, but it smells nothing but the roux, so I'm airing it out." I'm like, that's just, you made my day.
It doesn't get more down the bayou than that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's why I understand Cajun French, un peu, but I can't speak it.
Yeah.
Because that was their language.
Right.
Whenever they didn't want us to know, that's what they were talking.
Absolutely.
And I wish I had that, because going to the store with my grandma and grandpa, and they're just in an aisle with 3 or 4 other people, and they don't want them to know what they're talking about. They're just talking in Cajun French, and I'm like, God, I wish I had that, man.
I know.
I know what you're talking about, but...
Yeah. One time I left the Walmart in Thibodaux, and there was this old lady passing me, and she was going in, I was going out, and it was, I think it was hot outside, and I said, "Chat, il fait chaud." And the lady looked at me. She was like, "I speak English." I'm like, I forgot where I was for a second.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Because if you said that to anybody leaving the down the bayou Walmart, they would know what you were talking about.
Oh, they know exactly what. Yeah. Désolé, man. The sun is out.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can't just assume people from up the bayou know it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kess. Oh my God, you don't know Cass past Intracoastal.
Right. Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And people make fun of us for it. I don't blame them. I mean, we got our own language. We got our own things.
So, Anthony, I'm sure working in the restaurant business, you definitely see a lot of different things. Y'all have any, like, fun or interesting stories that you care to share about things you've seen at the Cajun Twist?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes on in both areas, Lockport and Galliano. And we have big windows out looking at everything. So you don't miss much. But one of my favorite stories, and it's one I love to tell, it's I met a guy named Dave. He was doing the Tour of Honor. And what that is, you hop on a motorcycle and you go and tour all the war monuments dedicated to veterans and everything and the people who have passed, memorials. You go to each one, take a picture, log it, and it's like a competition almost. And that year he was coming, he was going to the one on the back road, but he was on LA1 going down, and he was looking for a place to eat. It was getting close to closing time for our lunch, and he pulled up and pulled to the road and was messing on his phone. And if I see somebody like that, I usually go out and just talk to them, see if they're looking for directions. Usually they're lost. It's somebody from not around here. So I go approach him, and I'm like, hey, man, you looking for something in particular? He's like, well, I'm looking for a good po' boy or something. I said, well, you happen to park at the right location. We got one in here for you. He's like, really? I said, yeah, just come on in, and we'll set you up. So he comes in. He wanted an oyster po' boy, and so we started cooking it. And while we're cooking, I was conversing with him, talking with him, and he started to tell me his story and how he was traveling throughout the whole country, stopping at every monument.
Wow.
And he was, I believe, first that year.
Wow.
He had they have poker chips that for their placing and stuff, and he had dropped off whenever he came back. He had dropped off a poker chip for me, which I still have to this day. It's very special. But he was telling me about his son Travis, who perished overseas.
Wow.
Serving our country, and he was traveling with him. He had his ashes with him.
Wow.
And everywhere he would go that the monument touched him and it was really moving, he would leave a little bit of Travis there. And he talked about our monument and how beautiful it was and everything. So he left some over there, and we kind of hit it off.
Yeah.
He was a really good guy, and I comped him his po' boy because his conversation was more than enough payment.
Absolutely.
And it was really special. So he's like, look, man, just to let you know, I'm going to be coming back here. I said, look, whenever you're around, just let me know. Come on down. We'll be here,
Yeah.
So he came down. He wasn't really in the area, but he made a shoot down to Galliano, came eat again, and we started talking, and we were about to get married, my wife and I, Shay. And I was like, look, dude, he was telling me how he was planning a month. He wanted to come with his RV down here for a month and just experience the bayou.
Yeah.
Because he loved the conversation that we had and the bayou people. Mm-hmm. Because we're shirt off our back, type people.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna come down for a month. And I was like, yeah, when you coming? He's like, oh, probably in February. I was like, well, if you want to experience a Cajun boucherie, I'm spinning a pig for my wedding. He said, no, you lying. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm spinning a pig for the wedding. You and your wife, y'all come check it out. Y'all can experience a boucherie. He's like, yeah, but it's your wedding. I'm like, look, it's nothing fancy. Don't dress up. We having it at the Twist. We got married at the Twist.
Oh, wow.
And we just closed down that Saturday, spun a pig outside, and had a good time. But him and Beth had came and enjoyed themselves, got to talk with some more Cajun people and all. And while he was here, he did the Cajun Bayou Food Trail. It's something that our friends at the Tourism Commission underneath 90
right.
had put on. And so they hit every spot probably multiple times. They got probably 2 T-shirts out of it, because if you get so many spots, you get so many stamps, you get a T-shirt out of it. So
wow.
I'm sure you got a few T-shirts out of it and all. But Dave and all, we keep in touch as much as we can on Facebook and everything. That's pretty much the only reason I have Facebook, is to keep in touch with people.
Yeah, for sure.
But after Ida hit, he was messaging me right away. I couldn't get service, but he was messaging me right away. I got all his messages like, hey, look, man, if you need anything, I'll truck you down a truckload of water and gas. Like, whatever y'all need, like, we got you.
Right.
And it's just, I believe it's like our personalities down here. It's our culture. It's different. We're very welcoming. Hey, you didn't eat yet? come see. I got something.
Right,
You know,
right.
we're gonna feed you.
Super down to earth.
Yeah.
So where is he from?
He's from South Carolina, I believe. Or the Carolinas, south or north.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he's still riding his bike. He got him a 3-wheel bike now. Well, it's a motorcycle with a sidecar.
Yeah.
And I love that new whip he got.
That is awesome. It's funny that, like, what are the odds that your path was going to cross with his?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I love
just
that.
just a really good guy.
Yeah. So, Anthony, we will start our rapid fire questions. You can give us one-word answers or expand on the answer if you feel like you need to explain. It's up to you. Ready?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. So this one is especially for you. What is your go-to order at a down the bayou restaurant?
Probably a hamburger steak.
Shad bit.
You got to have cheese on it. You got to have cheese. Hamburger steak with cheese, onions, mushrooms if they got it. That's the way.
Gravy.
Oh, yeah. Gravy's guaranteed. I didn't feel like I needed to say gravy, but yeah, gravy 100%.
So what is your favorite Cajun word or phrase and its meaning?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I'll always say where.
Where?
I'll always say where.
I love that.
Yeah. So a funny story about that, too, is when we were in college, we weren't the fraternity type. And LSU's fraternities were different than, like, Nichols and all.
For
Like,
sure.
it's a different world out there. So when Halloween came around, we decided to make a frat, you know? So, of course, our frat was where?
Where?
Psi Sigma Eta or something. Eta, E-T-T-A, I guess. Eta?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I'm not Greek, so I don't know it. But we made shirts and all. We had a good crew from down the bay that we all wore these. It was the LSU versus Florida game, and everybody gave us some looks, but we had a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So, yeah, Wes definitely the one then.
What is your favorite snowball flavor?
I like Tiger's Blood.
Tiger blood.
Tiger's Blood, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know why. I was always a red fan, I guess. I like that red number 5, you know.
Yeah.
Just messed me up. But I think I grew up going with cherry.
Yeah.
But I moved on to Tiger's Blood because...
So I have to know, because the Cajun Twist down the bayou was so close to Grom's, which is your favorite, Missy Lane's or Grom's?
All right. So, I mean, I grew up with Grom's, so it's going to be Grom's.
Right, right.
But my wife is from up the bayou. She's from La Rose area and all, and she has converted me to Elaine's. But it's not hard to convert me when there's no more Grom's.
Right.
But Elaine's is spot on. It's delicious, homemade, good stuff. You can tell she cares.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the next hurricane, are you staying or evacuating?
I'm still up in the air for it. We stayed for this one,
Yeah.
and the house held up pretty decent. I left the house, though, because I didn't board up any windows. Because originally, the projections
Right.
weren't as bad as I was thinking, and then it got worse and worse, and I was like, well, I got brand new windows. We're going to test them out, I guess. So I actually went to my friend Ryan's house.
Okay.
Oh, his parents' house.
Yeah.
And we held up in there the morning of the hurricane.
Really?
I got stopped by Harbor Patrol on the way because of the curfew. And I pulled up next to him, and he rolls down the window like, oh, I recognize you. You good. I'm like, what? I'm trying to cross the Intracoastal with this wind.
Yeah.
But I was just going to cut off. So we rode it out and cut off. It was rough, but the house we were at was super strong. It held up well. I had to get a camper to live in the meantime. We stayed at my grandparents' house for a month, and I needed my own space.
Yeah.
So I'll probably at least move the camper and my wife and dogs up somewhere safe. And I'm debating if I'll stay up there or come down and stay, because with the businesses and everything, I'd like to try and get back on top of it to get it either cleaned up or fixed up as best I could. Like Lockport, we opened up a month after the storm.
Really?
We lucked out on a generator and hooked it up as soon as we could and started getting the trucks that we could were coming from Houston for food.
Wow.
So we opened up a month after rolling, and we got lucky with Lockport.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I feel like after the storm, it's only been just recently that other restaurants have really opened back up.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like the more you go down the bayou, the harder it is to like find somewhere
one.
to eat.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Okay, so this is a very big hot topic among our followers, but a jambalaya or a pastalaya?
Jambalaya.
Jambalaya, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
easy.
jambalaya, 100%. Pastalaya is a New Age tradition, like a New Age invention, I feel, you know.
Yeah.
it's definitely jambalaya. But I'm not going to turn my nose up at a pastalaya. I mean, carbs is carbs, whatever way you cut it, you know. I'm about that life.
So this is what I want to know. Red jambalaya or brown jambalaya?
Okay, so brown, personally.
Okay.
But if it's a shrimp, red.
Okay, that's exactly how I feel.
You know, like chicken, brown, 100%. Shrimp, red.
That's how,
We'll go with red.
Just growing up, my grandpa always made a red jambalaya, and so I really had never had the other jambalaya until I went to Thibodeau, like a brown jambalaya. But yeah, shrimp has to be in a red jambalaya.
I've not that I could ever recall having a brown shrimp jambalaya.
Right.
I can't recall it.
Well, good. I'm glad we're on the same page about that. Well, Anthony, we'd like to really thank you for coming and sit with us. I really enjoyed talking with you. I love learning about history of Bayou Lafourche and something so big as the Cajun Twist. I don't know. It's just like a very, like a landmark almost on Bayou Lafourche.
Yeah,
so,
it's definitely a staple.
Yeah.
The fried chicken and burgers, roast beef, it's a staple. Yeah.
So thanks for keeping that alive. Thanks for driving that forward, and thanks for meeting with us this evening.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, that'll do it for this episode of the DTB Podcast. Thanks to our producer, Ross Jambon, our executive producer, Hillary Crum, and the rest of our Bless Your Heart nonprofit board members, Luke Newman and Chris Brantley. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the DTB Podcast on Facebook, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also get more content by following us on Twitter and TikTok at the DTB Podcast. I'm Jure Jean Bonjaro. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.